Suzy Wrong, Joy Drive with Dean Warren's film, TV and theatre reviewer.
Suzy Wrong, are you there?
Would either one of you happen to be royalists?
I'm not.
Look, Suzy Wrong, it's an interesting thing. I am a Republican, but I do love this family and all its carry-on.
Right, even before this show.
Yeah, mad for it.
Okay. I was just wondering if you actually need to be interested in them to be absorbed into the drama of The Crown, which is the show we're talking about this week.
I don't think so. I think I've got no interest in the royal family whatsoever, but I thoroughly enjoyed The Crown.
Why do you think that is?
Why I'm not interested in the royal family, or why I enjoyed The Crown?
Why you enjoy The Crown even though you can't give a flying duck about those people?
Well, you know what was really interesting for me is I enjoyed it because I thought I was learning about history, and that was a mistake because I've now realised that a lot of the stories in there are rubbish. And in particular, if we look at Prince Charles, now, lately I've quite warmed to him. I think, he's very environmental, he likes animals, and I thought, he's not such a bad bloke after all. But in The Crown, I hated him. I thought he was an attention-seeking, selfish... goose.
I'm sure that
honestly, I didn't like him at all, and that's it's not a true representation of them. But I didn't realise that, so yeah.
Suzy Wrong, for any of our listeners that have been lying under a non-gay rock for some time, can you tell us what is the season of The Crown about? What is The Crown, the phenomenon, about?
The Crown is an episodic drama that revolves around the Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth II. So this is the fourth season, fourth year in a row, 10 episodes each time, and we are into the 80s now. It started in the 30s, 40s probably. We saw her as a child, didn't we?
Yep.
So now we are right into the 80s. So most of us are quite familiar with all the goings on and all the people. For the first time, we've got Margaret Thatcher, and for the first time, we've got Princess Diana. So it's extra spicy this year.
How good is Gillian Anderson playing Margaret Thatcher? She does a great job.
She is just heavenly, I think. I think everyone's had really high expectations, and she's just surpassed everything. I think sometimes it looks a little bit too much mimicry, but it is just gorgeous. It's just incredible to watch, and it's just mesmerizing, I think.
Well, no, I thought that too, Suzy Wrong. I thought, well, she's doing a good job, but it feels like a caricature of Maggie Thatcher. And so I went back and watched, 200 hours of background material, and she really was that over the top with her speech. It does seem to me that, that deep and drawling voice and that overly posh. It was just she really nailed it.
I don't think she was able to do it anywhere else actually, because it really needed to have that flavor, because it's so specific and it's so important to who she is, because she is sort of pretentious, she is sort of evil. So she did portray that with the voice and the way she holds her head and everything. I didn't like the way Diana was portrayed. I thought that one was weak.
Just before you go off Margaret Thatcher, something let's not forget, she's humanised in the show, and there are points where you think, I quite respect her for what she did, but let's not forget how toxic she was. She introduced that Section 28, which was a policy banning the promotion and acceptance of homosexuality in schools. Now, I was a bit disappointed that The Crown didn't touch on that side of her. They just focused on Britain being in a bit of a dark time with high unemployment and people were disgruntled at it, but she was a toxic individual, and that was just glossed over.
Yeah, and that's the danger of The Crown,
Yes.
It gives the impression that it is somewhat impartial, but actually you start thinking that they're all people, that they suffer like you and I. No, they don't suffer like you and I. Don't be crazy.
But imagine people like young kids who weren't around during that time, and this is their history lesson, and they go and they watch and they, Margaret Thatcher, she made some significant changes, she was a pretty good politician. They don't see the full history of what she was like, and I think that's where it falls over.
I think they did a pretty good job of trying to explain just how depressed it was, and I think that the intruder into the castle is sort of the embodiment of all that's wrong with Britain at that time. But
that was the best episode, but unfortunately it was just the one episode where we had a few moments where we kind of get confronted by the reality of the economy at the time.
Helena Bonham Carter as the sister is extraordinary.
Oh, yes.
She's great.
She's camp as a row of tents, and we can always rely on that sort of flamboyance from her. And even though she doesn't have as much this year as she did last, I think she did a great job as well.
I wonder if Margaret was like that. I know she was sort of party girl and a bit sort of, loose, a bit of a loose unit, but I don't know if she was quite that camp. I also loved the priest, the gay priest. Sorry, spoiler alert if anybody hasn't watched it. But, I mean, it's been out a week and we're all, in the community. I'm sure that everyone's watched it.
Something that struck me about it, though, is coming up from, I guess, a family from a British background. We don't show affection to each other. We don't hug. There's none of that. And you could see it was on steroids in the royal family. There's just no affection whatsoever. And I think at one point Diana just wanted a hug. It was all she needed. And I thought, wow, I wonder if that would have made a difference to how she was feeling. But no, they were like cardboard cutouts. There was just no emotion whatsoever.
I feel like that emotional oppression is a big part of its draw. That is all like about to explode all the time. Everyone is on the brink of like freaking out, but they never really do. So I think that gives the show a lot of tension.
Because I finished season 4 because you told me to, Suzy Wrong.
Good girl, Dee.
We are talking to Suzy Wrong about season 4 of The Crown on Netflix, which is airing now, of course. And if you haven't watched it all, get on it. But of course, Suzy, as soon as that finished, I had withdrawals instantly because it's candy, and I had to go and watch one of the many documentaries on Netflix also about the family. But there's the one I'm watching about the Windsors, which is historically accurate, is fascinating.
Oh, I shall have to check that out.
And another show I'm enjoying is Victoria, which is on ABC at the
about
moment
Queen
as well.
Victoria?
About Queen Victoria. I don't know how accurate it is, but I've looked at some of the things in the storyline and they did happen. So maybe it's more so than The Crown. But what did you think of the Australia scene that was filmed in Spain? Because I thought it looked completely fake, and I think that it was filmed in a Spanish city, and it's meant to be Sydney, there was meant to be Brisbane. It looked like a Spanish city. It didn't look anything like Australia at all. The scene in the farm is filmed in a farm that looks like Spain.
Oh.
It didn't look like Australia at all, and I think they superimposed Ayers Rock over it, or Uluru, and
Yeah, even when they were at the Opera House, it never looked really convincing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't really matter. It is still visually resplendent. It was just lush all the time, which seems to be the thing that Netflix is doing. I was just watching The Queen's Gambit and Rebecca yesterday, both on Netflix. They were just so beautiful to look at. You almost forget that there is a story to follow. Your eyes are just on overdrive.
Can you set us The Queen's Gambit as a homework for 1 week? Because I've got a lot to say about chess.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't really touch our community, except that, I think Joy 94.9 needs a chess club, obviously, now.
Yeah, well, I thought Queen's Gambit would have been, one of our shows, but I don't think it was that great. I don't think there's much to talk about, but you never know. We'll see if we can get an opportunity for that.
Sounds good.
Homework for next week.
Homework for next week is Happiest Season. I think it's important. I think it's important that we give this movie a bit of a boost. It's important that it does well at the box office as it opens this week Thursday. So for the next few weeks, I think it's important to show that the gay family story can make a bit of money for the cinemas around here.
And it's not just a gay story; it's a Christmas movie, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, which makes it sort of like groundbreaking, if you can use that word. It looks like it's a classic Christmas rom-com, except it's got women as the central figures, I think.
And the other thing is, for those of us in Melbourne, this is potentially our first outing to the cinema. It will be for me, which is very exciting.
Well, I've bought tickets to the drive-in to see it on Thursday, so probably see half you all there.
Oh, you'll be the.
So is it just you and your partner?
Yes, at the drive-in, but I guess there'll be a few hundred other people.
Dee's car will be the one with the fogged-up windows.
Oh, Warren, you know me so well.
Because I'm looking forward to other people laughing. I love it at the cinema when it's a comedy.
Yeah. Well, have you seen it yet, or are you waiting?
No, it's going to be this weekend.
Okay, great. Well, we'll talk about it next Tuesday with Suzy Wrong on Joy Drive. Thanks for joining us,
Thanks,
Suzy.
Suzy.
Thank you.